The old .30 caliber rifle may have been made in Italy. Ted Vincent placed it on a tree on a hill overlooking the estate's pool. Ted was wearing rubber gloves that reached his elbows. He had a small monocle-like device that allowed him to look at the pool. However, he was only 70 yards from several lounge chairs set up by the pool. The pool was located on the estate of Byron Diamond, a millionaire entrepreneur. The tree was located outside the estate. However, close enough. Byron Diamond was the employer of Ted's wife, Kara. She was a beauty, with dark brown hair and a pleasant figure. She was going to spend the weekend at Diamond's estate, as she had done for the past 4 weekends. She made no secret of this, having told Ted in advance about her intentions, to have a sexual relationship with her boss. True, only on weekends when Diamond's wife, Miranda, did charity work. Ted didn't know if Diamond's wife knew about Kara Vincent's visits. There were staff at the estate, so most likely she knew. Diamond and Kara walked towards the pool. Diamond was wearing swim trunks, and Kara was only wearing a thong, and quite meager. This was not the first time Ted had seen these two scantily clad. Over the past weeks, he had carefully examined the grounds of the estate. Now he felt that it was time to decide the issue of life and death of two lovers. Diamond was as handsome as a fashion model, with a slender, muscular physique. She and Kara made a striking couple, especially as they were now. Ted could somewhat understand why Kara was hooked on Diamond. But understanding does not mean reconciling. From the very beginning, when she announced her intentions, he was categorically against it. He and Kara were 37 years old. They were married for 16 years and had twin daughters, Claire and Beth. The children were 15 and looked like their mother. They were currently at Ted's parents' house, where they had spent the week before going to football camp. They inherited their father's athletic abilities. At the moment, Ted was supposedly riding a bike with his best friend Miles Jacobs. The two had been close friends since first grade. They were now partners in a business that sold financial advice to companies and some individuals. M&T was founded as soon as Ted graduated from college. Miles didn't go to college. His parents couldn't afford it, and Miles wanted to make it in the world. He was an outgoing guy and was a successful salesman. As part of their firm, he sold their services, the services were excellent, and the company grew. Now both men were quite wealthy, married men with children of about the same age who go to the same school. Miles was married to Robin, his childhood love. Well, Robin was the childhood sweetheart of both Miles and Ted. Miles won this competition. Ted never really understood why. Miles and Ted were very similar in appearance. Both were dark, 6 feet tall, of medium build. Who could choose? But some people just fell in love. This happened to Miles and Robin. Ted was used to it. He found Kara in college, and she was all he ever needed, just a few months ago. Miles waited on the bike path some distance away, and Kara was about to get a big surprise. Ted saw Kara and Diamond hugging each other. The hug turned into a kiss. As soon as they broke the kiss, and Kara walked a short distance away, Diamond's chest exploded. Diamond's body pulled away from Kara. She screamed, covering her face with her hands, and fell to the ground. There was blood everywhere. She crawled to the pool and dived into it. Ted has seen enough. He climbed down from the tree and quickly ran up the hill, throwing the old rifle into the bushes along the way. He took off the stock cover and gloves and stuffed them into a plastic bag on his belt and jogged up the hill to his bike. He jumped into the saddle, headed for the main bike path, and rode out onto it, after looking around to see that there was no one nearby. Ted rode his bike about 3 miles to join Miles. They continued on their way. About 6 miles away, Ted left a plastic bag in a dumpster behind a gas station. They then finished their ride and arrived at Miles's house. The rifle didn't bother Ted. He assumed the police would find her. They won't be able to get DNA, and he was sure that nothing could be traced. He had the rifle for many years. He got it from a guy he knew who was dying and didn't want to leave the weapon to his family. There were 2 rifles and 2 pistols. The other rifle was also from World War II, but larger and more valuable. Besides the rifle he had used today, the rest of the weapons were in Ted's gun safe, along with the weapons he had inherited from his grandfather. This rifle was never in the safe. Ted kept it separately in a hidden place in a closet in the garage. When Kara announced her intentions to have an affair with Diamond, Ted immediately thought of this rifle. Over the next week, he took her out to his country property to make sure she was shooting accurately. It needed a little work. He filed the number on the inside and was confident that the rifle was good enough for its purpose. Robin was there to greet them when they arrived at Miles's house. She expected them to return at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they arrived just then. She prepared a cold beer for everyone and asked, "How was the trip, guys?" Miles smiled at his wife. "That was great. The track wasn't very crowded and we had a good workout. About 4 hours or so." Robin hugged them both. She was a pleasant-looking woman their age. She had dark hair and was slightly overweight. Ted always found her attractive. They usually flirted a little, but she was Miles' woman, and all three of them knew it. The men drank beer and showered at the pool house before sitting around the pool. Robin asked, "Ted, how long do you think this thing with Kara will last?" She knew about what Kara did on the weekends. Ted told them both. They were his closest friends and the people he turned to when he was in trouble or needed calm advice. In Robin's opinion, Ted should have kicked Kara out immediately. But Miles thought differently. He suggested they wait until they could protect the company and the twins were older. But Ted already knew what he was going to do. He had no pity for guys who slept with other people's wives, especially his own. So, having developed a plan, Ted talked to Miles about it. Together, they clarified the details. Ted answered Robin's question. "I have no idea. But Robin, I hope to continue my relationship with Nora." Robin repeated, "I still think it's time for you to leave Kara." Robin and Kara have always been cool towards each other. These four did communicate, and so did their children. Miles's eldest son, George, was a year older than the twins. His youngest son, Ben, was a year younger. Both boys seemed to find the girls attractive, but the mothers were far from close. Kara had her own circle of friends from the country club. Robin had her own friends from the Democratic Party and several book clubs. However, their social gatherings generally went well. Kara was always nice and interested in Robin's hobbies. The strange thing was that both women worked in the same job for most of their married lives, administrative assistants. That ended when Kara was hired at Diamond 2 years ago. Robin was still working at her old company. As the three of them sat there, Ted was lost in thought about recent events. He wondered about his reaction and why Kara had betrayed him so much. She had been working for Diamond for 20 months, and Ted had no idea there was a problem. Their sex life, always good, did not change. Kara did not work late and did not go on business trips. She went to the club most weekends, but regularly attended girls' home soccer games. Ted always attended all the twins' games. So Ted was shocked when Kara sat down next to him late one night and said, "Ted, I'm going to do something. I hope this doesn't ruin things too much. I love you." Ted instantly became wary. He was not one to react emotionally to what was happening. To most people, he seemed stoic. His parents were the complete opposite. They argued and fought like street dogs. They then had wild sexual reconciliations. Ted was an only child, and his reaction, honed over the years, was no reaction at all. That was his initial stoic reaction to Kara. He didn't say a word and stared at her. This didn't unsettle her. This has happened before. She continued, "Byron and I have developed, well, a crush on each other. His wife goes away every weekend, from Friday to Sunday evening. I'm going to visit him at the estate when she leaves, starting this Friday. I have no idea when this will stop. He'll probably get tired of me. But I need it, Ted." Ted didn't say anything. In fact, he was quite calm internally. This was because he knew as soon as she laid out this plan that he couldn't stop her, nor would he try to. He also knew that Diamond was as good as dead. So is their marriage. What he hasn't fully decided yet is what to do with Kara. He always loved her. She was a pretty good mother. But he knew well that she indulged her desires and cared about her status. He saw it, but didn't pay enough attention to it. Now these negative qualities have reached their apogee. This was unexpected, and not even in her character. He was considering a decision regarding Kara, and almost immediately remembered the riffle in the garage closet. Kara was startled when Ted smiled after about a minute. He had this reaction when he thought about the riffle. Kara was not only amazed, but also unsettled by his smile. It wasn't a fake smile. She didn't expect this. She said with some heat, "Do you think there's something funny here?" He smiled at her. Not at all. But that smile. She felt a shiver from that smile. Ted stood up and asked, "Have you already had sex?" Kara paused. "No. Well, a few kisses. That's all for now. I will sleep in the guest house. Let me know when you're done with the rich boy. Then we'll see what's left." As he spoke, Ted walked up the stairs to pack his things for the night. Kara was sitting in the living room. She was unhappy with this turn of events. However, it was something she wanted to do, and she intended to do it. However, she felt lonely, left alone in bed. It was Wednesday, only one more night. She was so looking forward to her weekend with Byron. She longed for him. He was younger. He was 30. He was rich and educated. And he was well built. She realized this after seeing him working out in the office gym without a shirt. Her idea was to get enough of him while his wife was away for the weekend. She understood that this situation would continue for another couple of months. Then, depending on how they get along, perhaps they will make some kind of permanent agreement. Maybe so, maybe not. She loved Ted. She loved the way he had her. She loved the way he treated their daughters well. She liked that he gave her a good life. But for a while, she was restless and very attracted to her boss. She wanted it, and she was going to get it. She was sure that she and Ted would work it out somehow. Ted had a lot to think about, as he had barely slept Wednesday night. The twins were going to stay with friends for the whole weekend. He'll do some reconnaissance and check the weapons. Maybe he can take a little break. On Thursday, he went to his usual cafe for lunch. A nice young woman, Nora Hansen, dined there sometimes. Sometimes he and Nora had lunch together. Nora was about 25 or so, with a nice athletic figure and dark hair. Something about Nora reminded Ted of Robin. Something about her appearance and her behavior. Ted and Nora had been flirting a little for a few weeks. However, until Kara announced her intention to cheat, Ted had absolutely no intention of pursuing Nora. So what about now? Nora was there that Thursday. She was just sitting down when he entered. He ordered a ham sandwich and sat down next to her in the booth. It was somehow different. He usually sat opposite her. Nora was not a fool and was used to guys hitting on her. She couldn't help but notice it. She felt that she was pleased that Ted sat next to her. She had been saving a place for him for 2 weeks. But until now, he either did not understand or did not want to take the hint. She knew Ted was married, and yet he was a temptation. Nora turned to him and gave him a killer smile. "Something has changed, huh?" He smiled back at her. "Yeah, my wife decided to fool around with her boss." Nora put her hand on his thigh. And I was wondering if you'd like to have dinner and a dance on Friday night." "Oh, Ted, I would really like that. Very much." Soft voice, gentle. A stupid grin appeared on his face. He felt stupid when he realized this. She patted him on the cheek. He was hard as a rock, and he did everything he could to control himself. She stroked him. He stroked her cheek and kissed her lightly on the lips. "I better not stay here. We could be arrested." They exchanged phone numbers. Returning to work, Ted felt like a schoolboy. Some of the employees noticed this. Kara noticed too when Ted walked briskly home after work. And again, her husband, with whom she had lived all these years, surprised her. She said, "I made lasagna and some salad." She considered this as a peace offering. She was convinced that Ted would take her adventure hard. All the more unexpected was his answer. "Thank you. I'm hungry." His mood clearly improved. Kara was suspicious and wondered if he had already done. "What? Have you moved on?" God. He washed his face, and they sat down to eat. Kara made up her mind. "Do you think, I'm going to his house tomorrow." He glanced at her. He decided to put some effort into it. Ted felt he had to do this for the sake of the children. It's not too late to stop, Kara. I firmly believe that you will regret this in the end. She hesitated. It was a different Ted. He said this completely sincerely and confidently. For a moment, she was overcome with love for him. She struggled with it. I need this, Ted. He smiled at her. I don't believe you and I use the word need to mean the same thing, Kara. She stood up and cleared away the plates. I hope you see your path clearly and will go to bed with me tonight. No, I told you. You'll see me when you're done with your lover. It will be visible there. Kara was disappointed. She had visions of a pleasant night of lovemaking that would bring an amicable end to this phase of their marriage. But this was not destined to come true. She realized she was done with it when she talked to Ted the other day. She felt sad about this. Ted paused before heading to the guest house. Maybe something will come back then, Kara. But most likely not. He walked out the door. Kara sat down at the table and thought. At that moment, it became clear to her that she was risking her marriage. She used to entertain the idea that things might go back to normal when her affair ended. Now she knew it was naive. If she continues to date Byron, it is likely that her life will subsequently change dramatically, and there was no real way to predict what form it would take. She had almost decided to give up on the affair when the thought struck her that even if she gave it up, Ted might never feel the same way about her. Yes, now he will never see her the same. She decided to go ahead. Friday evening. Kara was packing her bag when she left for work on Friday morning. Everything you need, plus a new, tight-fitting nightgown. She became nervous when she saw Byron at work, but he smiled broadly at her and kissed her in his office. No doubts or hesitations? Your husband? Doubts. I really had them. But I want you so much. She stuck out her tongue and licked her lips. Byron was delighted. They left work in different cars. Employees at work were not supposed to know about the weekend plans. Kara arrived at the estate at 6 in the evening. She parked, Byron opened the door and invited her into his luxurious home. When the door closed, he pulled her into his arms and kissed her. She disappeared into him. She was so excited. They headed towards the stairs. Byron picked her up and tried to carry her up the stairs. But he had to lower it halfway. She realized that Byron is not as strong as Ted. She hurried upstairs and headed to the master bedroom. The bed was made and everything was ready. Byron pulled her into his arms again. They kissed. Kara quickly took off her dress. She wasn't wearing any stockings, so she was only wearing a bra and panties. In front of Byron, she took off her bra and then her panties. He was licking his lips, literally. And here she is, naked, with a new man, for the first time since she got married. It was so exciting. Byron had no shirt or shoes. Kara knelt down in front of him and unbuttoned her trousers. She then pulled down his boxers and looked at her new prize. She thought it was beautiful. After they got busy-willed animals a sex. He rolled off her and they clung to each other. Kara was satisfied. Maybe everything happened quickly, but it was very intense. She caught herself thinking that pleasure was just as intense as with Ted. Well, almost as intense. She was confident that they would reach new heights later. Byron was delighted. He conquered this married woman and tied her well to him. He knew he was a better lover than anyone she had ever experienced. I just knew it. He may have come quickly, but so did she, and much tougher than his own wife. Her pulsation was much more intense than Miranda's. Kara decided again excite Byron. It took her a while to get Byron turned on again. When she did, they had sex again. After that, he invited them to have dinner. He had robes for them. They went downstairs. A small feast was prepared and Kara found herself starving. They ate and talked. Did you like it? Byron was unoriginal. Kara nodded. Certainly. And you? The very best. Kara sang, Simply the best, better than everyone else. Byron didn't know this song. He looked puzzled. Kara and Ted often sang it to each other. She felt a little ashamed that she had used it with Byron. After dinner, they went back upstairs and watched a romantic movie in the bedroom. Byron wanted more sex, but Kara wanted to watch the movie to the end. Then they did it again, missionary style. Kara was impressed that Byron was able to do it 3 times like that. However, the third time made a slightly less impression on her. Ted picked Nora up from her apartment driving his classic MGB convertible. This was his hobby, one of them. Nora was delighted with the trip and with Ted. He looked great in his blue suit, and Ted was delighted with her spectacular dark red dress with a plunging neckline. He took her to the Willington Hotel, where there was a good restaurant. They had a wonderful dinner and then went to the dance floor nearby. Ted was athletic and always a good dancer. One of the reasons he liked Kara was that she was also gifted in that sense. So is Nora. Nora was light on her feet and oh so sensual when she moved. Ted was completely fascinated by her. More and more she reminded him of Robin, only younger and a better dancer. They danced until, at some point, they both suddenly wanted to find another place. Nora got into the car and looked at him. "Take me to your home." "Yes, take me to your place." Ted controlled himself during the trip and drove very carefully. 15 minutes later, he opened the front door and let Nora in. They were unable to get out of the living room. Nora quickly undressed, and Ted returned the favor. Then they stood up, staring at each other. Nora was the first to attack Ted and throw him onto the sofa. There she went to her affairs, and they started with such intensity and zeal as never before. In the morning, they woke up to sunlight. They took a shower together. Ted prepared breakfast. Nora just looked at him as he did it. She was in love and knew it. She didn't trust it, but she felt it. Then she said it to him as he served eggs and toast. "I'm in love with you, Ted. I just have to say it." Ted was surprised. He thought about it and said, "I believe the feeling is mutual." Let it be hard to believe. So fast. They're done with the eggs. "Now what?" asked Nora. Ted smiled. "Guess?" He picked her up again. Kara and Ted's weekend continued as it had begun. Kara was pleased with Byron, who gave her a lot of pleasure. Ted thought he was head over heels in love with Nora. On Sunday afternoon, Kara and Byron sealed their agreement to see each other next weekend. Ted and Nora began to think about what to do. They set a date for next Friday, depending on what Kara had planned, and they agreed to meet for lunch every day. Ted dropped Nora off at her apartment. She was a lawyer and, despite her youth, could afford good housing. Meanwhile, Kara drove home from Byron's. Ted had just returned when she walked through the door. They stared at each other. Ted had this smile. There was nothing he could do about it, and Kara saw it. She asked, "How was your weekend? Alone? How is Richie Rich?" Ted grinned. If Kara had been honest, she would have said, "He was exciting, but you're better." Instead, she said, "He was great. I'll be leaving again next week. The girls won't be back until next Sunday evening." She knew something had gone wrong with her plan. Ted was too happy. She was also nervous about how to tell the girls what was going on. For dinner, they ordered Chinese food. Ted met Nora for lunch every day during the week. They had plans to go to a concert on Friday and spend the weekend at her house. Ted and Kara communicated mechanically throughout the week. At work, Kara and Byron were careful. At home, she hoped that Ted would soften and take her. No chance. Every night, he slept in the guest house. In the evenings, he watched baseball or read, didn't communicate with Kara. Basically, he ignored her. Frozen marriage. While at the guest house, he walked out through the backyard and looked around the Diamond Estate. He had Google Maps and night vision goggles. He began to build a diagram of this place in his head. He also used cash to buy a device that directionally amplified sound. The following weekend, she and Nora had a great time, but then she had to leave for Sunday lunch with her parents. So in the morning, they had their last meeting, and she left. Ted went to the Diamond Estate and found out some more. He had seen Diamond and Kara at the pool many times. It seemed like that was where they spent a lot of time. He also found that the directional device was working fine. He managed to overhear some of what they said to each other. He found it boring. By the third week, the twins were home. Of course, they noticed that their parents had actually separated. At dinner that Tuesday, Claire asked, "Mom, Dad, what's going on?" Kara said, "We have some problems. We'll deal with that. Don't worry." The girls then looked at Ted. He shook his head. "The truth is that your mother decided to have sexual relations with her boss. So I moved into a guest house. What will happen in the long term has not yet been decided." Kara was angry at Ted for putting it that way. However, there was nothing to object to. She said, "I felt that I needed, Beth interrupted. "Newman, it looks like it. How could you, Mom?" Kara stood up and ran up the stairs. "Are you getting divorced, Dad?" "Don't know. Not everything has been decided yet, but can you keep your mouths shut?" The girls answered in unison, "Yes." "Do you promise?" "Yes. I have a new friend. I'll introduce you this weekend when Mom goes to her new boyfriend." The twins were smart. Claire said, "You mean you have someone you want us to meet? So this must be very serious, right?" "Maybe. Until Mom left, I never would have met Nora. But Mom went, then I did it too. And, who knows who will win with whom in the end?" Beth grinned. Claire asked, "How did you manage to work so quickly, Dad?" "This doesn't sound like you." "I kind of knew Nora from lunches. Maybe I felt insecure or like I didn't measure up. And it seemed to me that Nora would like to go on a date with me. She really wanted this, so..." The girls fell into silence, a thoughtful and not very comfortable silence. Ted let them think. Finally, he asked, "Anything else at the moment?" Claire asked, When will we meet her?" "I'll organize something for this weekend. You have a game on Saturday afternoon, right?" "Yes. Maybe Nora and I will come." "This is a serious story, Dad. You are not ashamed to appear with her, even to the parents of our friends." Ted was not surprised that the girls turned out to be so neat and smart. He really believed that they could figure this out. "Nothing is set in stone now. I like this woman, and your mother ruined our marriage. But the situation is unpredictable. They left everything as is. Kara never came downstairs. On Friday, Kara returned to Diamond's estate. She had a pleasant weekend, but sometimes she got bored. Byron's sexual repertoire was more limited than Ted's. Kara tried to introduce him to something new, but he was not so receptive. Byron could do this, at best, 3 times a day-night, and he was quick and didn't like hugs. This left a lot of time when they weren't having sex. Since their affair was supposed to be secret, they could not go out. So they stayed at the estate. It was big enough for hiking, and they had a pool. They spent a lot of time there. That same weekend, Ted took Nora dancing again. This time they went to a local club. One of her friends was there, Laura Blake. Laura and Ted were introduced to each other. In reality, Ted had no intention of keeping his relationship with Nora a secret. They danced amazingly again, then came home to Nora. Ted left at 1 o'clock in the morning. The twins were already waiting for him. A wide smile appeared on Ted's face when he saw them in the living room. "You girls have a game tomorrow. You should get some sleep." Beth said, "We were waiting for you." Claire added, "I see you have a big smile. I bet you..." Ted interrupted, "Never mind. Go to sleep. Game at 10. Nora will come with us." Nora arrived at 8:30. She was nervous. Ted was nervous. The twins were nervous and insecure. When Ted opened the door and let Nora in, there was a long pause where no one said a word. Nora looked great. Finally, Ted said, "Nora, this is Claire, and this is Beth." Nora smiled. "Hello. I think it's a little awkward, but maybe we have something in common. I played football in college, on the attack." "Where?" Beth asked. Nora said, "Notre Dame." Ted was stunned and the girls were impressed. Beth was a troublemaker and had a soccer ball in her hands. She tossed it to Nora. Nora somehow picked it up with her right foot and threw it back at Beth with her knee, who caught the ball. Nora smiled. Beth and Claire smiled too. Ted said, then let's go. The girls were good at football. Usually they united in the center of the field. The two of them tried to control the course of the game. Ted and Nora watched. Well, Ted was watching. Nora could hardly restrain herself and jumped up and down on the seat. If the other parents didn't see her before the game, they saw her when the game started. It was a tense and exciting match. The other team showed its best side and took a 2-goal lead, but the home team fought back and equalized just 2 minutes before the end. The opposing coach made a substitution. Beth stood next to Nora. Nora called her and said, "They will try to pass by your side. Cut through and leave." Beth looked at Nora and nodded. Nora's analysis was accurate. Beth intercepted the pass and headed towards the goal at speed. Ted jumped, but Nora didn't. Nora just watched. Role reversal. Beth approached the box and saw that the other striker on the right was offside by a yard. So she feinted left, lured the goalie out, and then kicked the ball into the net. The game ended immediately after this score. Ted and the girls celebrated with other parents. Nora took a step back. When the jumping died down, Beth approached Nora and asked, "How did you know?" Nora laughed. "I watch the game. I see the game when I watch." She patted Beth's hand. 3 or 4 other parents noticed the whole interaction. Joan Drake asked Ted, "Is she the twins' coach?" Ted said, "No, she's my friend, but she played this game." Girls' coach Lena Holmes said, "Well, of course. I remember her. She played for Notre Dame, on the attack." Ted called Nora over and introduced him to everyone present. Nobody asked any awkward questions. In the car on the way home, Claire said, "Dad, you can guess what they're all wondering." Ted laughed. Let them. The 4 of them stopped for pizza. Then Ted and Nora went to her house for about 3 hours. They returned with Chinese dinner. Ted was a little worried about the food selection. After dinner, there was another long conversation about football. Beth Googled Nora and learned about her college career. Nora studied there for 3 years. Around 9 o'clock in the evening, there was an awkward silence. Then Ted said, "Girls, Nora and I are heading to the guest house." Beth said, "Be quiet, please." Nora laughed. "I promise to do my best to do this." After Nora and Ted left, the girls discussed it all. They really liked Nora, and they could see how much their father liked her. They felt like the family life they knew was over. It was an abrupt transition. Claire said, "It's not Daddy's fault, is it?" Mom left to study sex with this idiot. I really hate her for this." "Me too. I can only guess that how could she just do that?" "Selfishness, that's all. We have to accept change, Claire. Maybe things won't be so bad. I like Nora. Dad likes her too. But they haven't known each other for long, right? So, we don't know. Maybe Mom and Dad will make peace." "Maybe," Beth said dryly. They went upstairs and watched the video. Then they fell asleep. Ted and Nora had a wonderful time again. In the morning, they prepared breakfast for 4. Nora set up an impromptu soccer lesson for the twins in the backyard. Then she had to visit her mom and dad. Ted and the twins had a long discussion about how to proceed. Ted tried to reassure them about their mother. He also assured them that even if there was a divorce, they would remain here in the house. He also told them that they would still have a lot of contact with both parents if they separated. They actually discussed how the girls should react to Kara. Ted tried to get them to at least be polite. Then Kara appeared at the door. Another awkward moment with everyone staring at her. Kara then said, "I want you girls to know that I love you. And I love Dad too. This is true." Beth calmly replied, "Mom, that's what you say. But what you're doing says otherwise. I can't explain all this to you. I just needed it. This won't last forever." Claire said, "Oh, I'm not so sure about this." Kara walked into the kitchen saying she was going to make dinner. The other 3 looked at each other. Nobody said almost anything. Dinner was delicious but stressful. Kara asked about the football game. Claire said, Beth scored the winning goal. Congratulations. Tell me. An awkward silence. Then Ted said, Beth anticipated the transmission and intercepted it. She went all the way and scored past the goalkeeper. Kara praised the girls. Ted cleared the table and the girls went to their rooms. I went to the guest house. Kara said, Ted, understand. I mean, you could spend the night here. Never. Are you done with this idiot? Don't know. Maybe. It wasn't quite what I had hoped. We stayed home all weekend. You know, Kara, people will find out. They already know something is wrong. I don't want to embarrass you, and he doesn't want his wife to know. It's a pity. Ted, a bit more, and it will end. Kara, please understand that you ruined our marriage. It's over between us, so stay as long as you want. Just remember, he is all you have now. Kara was shocked by this frank statement. She sobbed, just once. She ran upstairs. By morning, she had decided to take things as normally as possible. She had to go to work. Ted, too. The girls were preparing for a trip to their grandparents' house and then to an outdoor camp. Ted had lunch with Nora and explained what happened after she left. He then went home to help the twins pack their things. Kara's plans for the day were disrupted when her friend Joan called. Kara, who was that nice young woman who came to the football game with Ted? Kara paused. Which young woman? Ooh, understand. She is a former football player. Very pretty. We were all wondering where you were. Damn it. Calm down, Kara. She and Ted didn't... There weren't any obvious signs, you know. Oh, no? Well, they didn't tell me anything about her. What is her name? Nora. Kara, where have you been? I heard something I can't believe. Like what, Joan? Like the fact that you left Ted for your boss. Not true. I didn't leave him. Well, Jane Bright has a cousin at the club who works for Mr. Diamond in his house. The cousin said that on weekends when his wife is away, he has a woman there. Crap. So, it's you. God, Kara. God. This shouldn't last too long, Joan. Only at weekends. You're stupid. Ted already has another woman. And guess what? I don't blame him. She's younger and sexier. Your daughters seem to be already familiar with it. You screwed up royally. Kara was truly shocked. That evening, he and Ted dropped the girls off at his parents' house. The ride home was silent, but when they entered the house, Kara attacked Ted and slapped him. He stepped back. What the hell? You replaced me, you bastard? You're complaining. What did you expect? You must have made preparations for my departure. How long have you been making fun of me? I only knew her from the cafe. We didn't even kiss until you went crazy with your boss. So, fuck you, bitch. Kara rushed away. Ted went to the guest house. He then walked out the back door, wearing dark clothes. He found a good place to observe Diamond, a tree. That night he intended to test a sound amplification device. He set it up and waited until he saw Diamond and his wife on the deck overlooking the pool. They sat and drank wine. As he joined their discussion, he heard Diamond say, "And it won't last long. You have your boy toy." Miranda replied, "Only because you started it. This is something like the fourth or fifth available girl." Diamond said, "I support your style, Mira. Don't ruin it." "Why are they always married? Do their husbands know?" "Yes. I force them to tell their husbands about it. I like it better this way. When we have social events at our company, I smile at all the idiots. Someday, boy, you will cross the road for the wrong person." "Nope." "What will they do?" "They may divorce their wife, but they all have children. So they don't do it. They just accept it. So what if they end up getting divorced? It's a pity. You're one of the biggest assholes in the world, ugh, a real jerk. But I'm good in bed, right?" Miranda laughed. "What do you think? My Deshaun is better." "Ha!" "Bullshit," Diamond laughed. From that moment on, the conversation reached a dead end. Ted got down and walked away. Until this moment, Ted had thought that dealing with Diamond was not only unnecessary, but also risky. It seemed to him that there was no need. After all, Now he had Nora. Kara and her stupid antics made it possible. Maybe, he thought, he should thank Diamond. But the conversation he had just overheard again aroused his burning anger. The next day, he walked into Miles's office and they talked. Nora spent the weekend with Ted and the girls. The couple slept in the guest house, but otherwise interacted with the twins, almost like a family. After Saturday's game, there were more football lessons. Saturday night, Ted and Nora had a fantastic time in bed as usual. As they lay in bed, Nora asked, "What happens next, Ted? I mean, maybe it's weird to ask this, but are we exclusive?" Ted laughed. "You mean, do I sleep with my wife on the side?" Nora giggled. "Yes. I am absolutely not going to do this. I'm a one-woman man. You can be that woman if you want." "I feel like I'm ruining my marriage. You two have been together for so long." "Not you. Once Kara went to her boss, I was done with her. After a few hours, very quickly in fact, I felt it freeing. And I benefited. I'm happy with it." The next morning they had another fun run and then went to prepare breakfast. Nora went to her parents' house a little early to help her mother with an unusual cake. Ted told the girls he was going for a bike ride with Miles. He'll see them later. He hugged each one tightly and left. Earlier this week, Ted had prepared the rifle and left it by the tree, loaded and wrapped. As he hid his bike and headed there, he half hoped someone would take her. But everything was in place. He had serious doubts even when he was backed into a corner. But he kept remembering the conversation this asshole had with his wife Miranda. And then he saw his almost naked wife kissing a guy. He thought, screw this. It's time to end this crap. As Ted and Miles sat drinking beer after the bike ride, Robin ran out of the house. "I saw it on TV. Diamond was shot. He is dead. Diamond is dead." Ted quickly stood up. "What about Kara? They said that a woman was present, but she was not injured." Miles exclaimed, "Oh my God!" He took out his phone and turned on the news feed. Miles kept Ted's cell phone with him the entire trip. It was in his belt bag. He waited until Robin looked at his phone before handing Ted the phone. But Robin saw it. She didn't think much of it at the time. Ted tried to call Kara. No answer. He said, "I better go home. Maybe someone called." He left on a bicycle. When he returned home, the landline phone was ringing. "Hello? Is this Ted Vincent?" "Yes. This is Detective Harvey from APD. There was shooting, but your wife was not injured." "You're talking about Diamond. My friend told me. What's happened?" "I can't comment on this. Mr. Diamond is dead. Your wife is here at the station. She is completely shocked. Can you come get her?" "Certainly. Where?" "Main office. 3rd floor. Please contact the front desk." Ted put on shorts and a t-shirt over his cycling gear. He had a wallet and phone in his fanny pack. He took the car keys and drove off. He had no idea what to expect. He was invited to a conversation. He was told that he could see Kara after everything was completed. Detective Harvey was an older white guy who looked fit, although he had gray hair. He had a partner, Stella Blaine. She was an attractive brunette, large and tall. Ted sat with them in a small room and answered all their questions. They asked how his day was, and he told them about it, the bike ride and all. They then asked if he knew Kara was involved with Diamond. "Yes." How did you feel about this?" It was Harvey. "I did not like it, but I moved on." "What does it mean?" "I have another interest. Another woman." "Oh. So you have an open marriage?" No. As she announced that she was doing it, that's how I reacted." "Do you have a weapon?" "Yes, I have a gun safe." "We'll have to look into it." "Fine. Well, let's go home together." The police found out many details about the bike ride, addresses, and who else Ted was meeting with. Then they left him in a small room for a while. The door was locked. Ted just sat there looking at his phone. About 15 minutes later, Harvey returned and asked if they could look at the phone. Ted said, "I have something on my phone about work that I don't want to make public." "Nothing illegal." "We could get a warrant." He decided to just let them take the phone. He was told it would take 30 minutes. Then they took him to Kara. She was wearing a t-shirt and jeans, not hers. She looked scared. Ted said, "Kara, are you okay?" "No. God, he got shot. I was right there. There was blood everywhere. I'm sorry, Kara. Once they're done with my phone, I can take you home." "Okay, Ted." Pause. "Ted, I regret all of this, but we can talk on the way home." He hugged her. Soon the detective brought the phone and the couple left the station. When they were in the car, Kara asked, "Ted, did you shoot him?" "No. Maybe I don't regret that he was killed. But I didn't do that." Kara stared at him. "I know you. You could, but you found the right girl, so I just didn't do it." "Did you see him get shot?" "No. I heard a shot and it all exploded." Now she was crying. She was sobbing. Ted pulled the SUV into the driveway. He escorted Kara inside and led the arriving police officers to the gun safe. They examined the weapon and asked about the ammunition. There was an unopened box of .30 caliber ammunition. They were not interested in other ammunition. When they got back outside, Harvey turned to Ted and said, "We'll take DNA and fingerprints from the rifle we have. I would advise you not to interfere with this, Mr. Vincent." "Well, I don't know about any weapons, and I didn't shoot anyone." "Fine. See ya." Ted went inside to deal with his wife. However, before doing this, he called Nora and told her what had happened. She knew some details. He asked if she would come over later, once Kara had calmed down. Then he called his parents and daughters. They discussed the events of the past day for a long time. One of the questions was whether the twins would go to outdoor camp next week. It was decided that they should leave to avoid any confusion that might be expected. Kara took a long shower. Ted inquired about her mental state. Not surprising. He was waiting for her when she came out in a robe. "It must be difficult. Have you cleaned up enough?" She smiled. "No, but the water ran out." "Yes, I guessed. What can I do for you?" "Well, maybe we can order pizza? I'm starving." Ted did it. Kara looked at Ted over her pizza. "I was thinking about you. I'm not so sure you're innocent. Where have you been today?" "On a bike ride with Miles, I told the cops. He might lie for you." "Yeah, but he doesn't have to lie. I admit that I have some anger issues at times, but I didn't shoot that idiot. He was a jerk. You were right about that. Are you going to divorce me?" "Maybe. I mean, you threw it in my face, Kara. After so many years, you needed some rich boy. I agree that he was good-looking." "He was good." "Honestly, Ted, he wasn't. He didn't really live up to his looks." "Yeah, it's true. You have some kind of woman, Nora. I was told that she is younger and more attractive." "Yes, she is quite attractive and athletic. She played soccer in college. And she just picked you up right away. I bet you mastered it before I had Byron." "No. Maybe around the same time. First we went dancing. Why are you interested?" "I probably won't have a job. You will leave me, I know. I have to live, and we have a marriage contract. I won't let you starve. And maybe you'll have a job." "Maybe. Miranda probably isn't too happy with me." Ted's phone rang. It was Nora. He walked into the living room. Kara followed him at some distance. She heard their declarations of love. If she had been wearing shoes, she would have kicked herself. As Ted tried to persuade Nora not to come, Kara entered the room. "Let her come, Ted. I think it's time for us to meet." 30 minutes later, the doorbell rang, and Ted let Nora in. Kara was already dressed. She looked tired, but still attractive. The two women looked at each other for what must have been a full minute. Then Nora said, "I regret. You must be very shocked. Thank you. This is true. It's all so confusing. You took my husband. You left him. It is not my fault." They were separated by about 10 feet. Ted positioned himself to intervene if necessary. Kara was shaking. She started sobbing again. Nora stepped towards her and hugged her. Kara cried on Nora's shoulder. Ted was amazed. Nora sat Kara down on the couch, maintaining contact. There was room for Ted, too, and he sat down next to Kara and hugged her, too. Kara sobbed, gasping for air. She sobbed, "Such a fool. Sorry. Such a fool." Kara's crying subsided. She stood up a little and asked Ted, "Do you think the hot water is ready?" "Maybe." She got up to take another shower. After she emptied the tank again, Ted gave her a pill, and she fell asleep on their bed. Ted and Nora went to the guest bedroom. They didn't want to leave Kara alone in the house. They watched the news at 10. Diamond's murder was widely reported. As it turned out, Diamond had many affairs with married women who mostly worked for him in one way or another. So Ted was far from the only suspect. Later on CNN, it turned out that some people also had business reasons for eliminating Diamond. And finally, there were suggestions on the internet that Diamond's wife could be involved in this. Ted turned off all media after 11. He and Nora went to bed. Neither of them really wanted to have sex. At first, but Nora was silent. Ted woke up early and checked on Kara. She slept until 9, then took a shower. At 10, all three were sitting at breakfast and eating pancakes that Nora had whipped up. Mozart started playing on Nora's phone. She answered, and it was the police to arrange an interview. Nora asked Kara and Ted, "Should I ask them to come here?" Kara nodded. "We can get the latest news." So at 11, Detectives Harvey and Blaine came and took Nora to a private room to take a statement. This took about 25 minutes. Then they all met in the living room. Kara asked, "Any news about who did this?" Blaine said, "Not yet. Many people had a motive, including you, Mr. Vincent." "We've already discussed this," Ted frowned. "Yes. Well, thank you all for your cooperation. They are gone." Robin called and said the police were coming to take a statement. They were polite, but persistent and scrupulous. Ted told her he would see Miles at work. All three were somewhat confused, not knowing what to do. "Should I leave?" asked Nora. Kara said, "No, I understand. Ted might want you to stay." Ted nodded. They were all sitting on the back patio drinking coffee. Kara's calm returned, but she seemed sad. Ted and Nora seemed to be expecting more problems. Kara held her temples. "I keep seeing him dead." He still didn't move. "I wonder if I'll always see this." Nora seemed to want to console her. "In my course on the psychology of grief, it was said that images are the most persistent thing, but over time, they fade and are erased." "I really hope so." Kara's voice broke. "Do you have news from work?" Ted asked. "No. I mean, I work directly for Byron. I actually acted as a sort of dealer for the goods sent to him. I let him see some things, but took care of other things myself. Whoever takes this place will need someone like me." "Who will it be?" asked Nora. "My only guess is Miranda. I know what was in his will because I signed it as a witness. She gets everything except some things for his mom." "Okay. I mean, do you want to work there?" "Yes. Like I said, I need to support myself, huh?" Ted looked at Nora. "Well, until you get back on your feet. Did you two sleep in the house last night?" It's clear that this bothered Kara. Nora nodded. "In the guest room. I hope this continues for some time, until I get back on my feet." There was a double meaning in Kara's words, and neither Ted nor Nora missed it. Ted didn't mind. "Everything will work out on its own, and the girls will be back briefly next week." "Nora, they told me that you went to their game." Kara remembered. "Yes, it was exciting." "I missed it." Kara sobbed again. "I feel like such a fool. He had a whole string of women. He manipulated us all. Well, he was a handsome asshole. You made a big mistake." Nora tried to calm her down a little. Ted said, "I think you've been unhappy for a while. I mean here at home, not at work." Kara thought and said, "This is true. I don't know what causes this. Maybe something like, the grass is greener." She paused. "Then a big hole opened up and swallowed up my life." She stood up and ran inside. After a while, the clink of pots and pans was heard. Kara baked a chocolate cake that was ready by noon. Eventually, Nora and Ted came into the kitchen and began to watch. talking incoherently about something. They ate sandwiches while the cake cooled enough to frost it. So the day continued. Nora made burgers for dinner, and Kara made salad. The three of them did something, but hardly talked about the future. Kara went to bed at 9 o'clock. Twice she woke up from nightmares, once screaming. Ted came in and calmed her down. The next morning, Tuesday, Nora had to go to work. Ted also wanted to go to the office, but he was worried about Kara. While he was thinking, Kara's phone rang. It was Miranda. Kara put her phone on speaker. "Will you come to work today?" "I have a job?" "Yes, I understand that the situation is not easy, but something has to be done, and you can't be replaced right away. So, despite your stupidity about Byron, I need your job." Kara looked at Ted. He nodded. "I can be there in an hour." "Fine. Come to the house. Walk behind so you don't get caught." Kara met Miranda in the office on the second floor. Miranda extended her hand for a handshake, and Kara accepted it. Miranda began, "I'm curious, before we get down to business, why Byron was able to get his hands on you. I saw your husband. Did he disappoint you?" "Oh, no. But Byron looked so good." "Yes, but that was not the case. Not that good, actually. I have already begun to understand this. Not bad, but no more. Best case scenario. He had a tendency to fade. Perhaps you and he have not reached this stage yet." "Maybe." "Well, let's get started." The two of them worked all day, bringing Miranda up to date. They also considered how to get rid of Byron, but the body has not yet been returned. At 6 in the evening, Miranda looked up from her work and asked, "Can you stay for dinner? We still have a lot to do." "Certainly. I have Ted and his girlfriend at home." "That's what I heard. She's pretty?" "Yes, and young. He fucked her the first night I left." "So they are really connected?" "Looks like it. My girls like it too." Miranda looked at Kara and smiled. "Well, if you need some relief, I can lend you one of my boy toys. They know how to satisfy a woman." Kara blushed. "Miranda, thank you, but I'm not ready yet. Just let me know. You know, now that we women are running the company, maybe the guys will have to make room. Is there anything you need? Well, if it comes to that, a toy boy will do. I don't want to destroy any family." "You're too cute, Kara." They ate and Kara went home at 9:30. Miranda gave her a significant raise. Ted and Nora were interested to see how Kara was doing at work, given the complexity of the situation. Kara described her day and the work she had to do, and she told them about her promotion. "So, I won't be a burden. Looks like I can support myself." It sounded pretty bleak. Ted said, I... Kara interrupted. "You know, Miranda offered me a boy toy to use if I needed it." I refused. For now. Nora gasped. "Really? How do they look?" Ted was a little annoyed by this, but said nothing. "I don't know. I didn't even know Miranda had them." For the next 6 weeks, Kara worked for Miranda 6 days a week, either in the office or at her home. The work was moving forward. Ted started getting divorced about 2 weeks later. This came as no surprise to Kara or the twins. Miranda hired Kara a lawyer, but the details were easy to work out. The parties agreed and signed a few weeks later. The twins stayed in the house with Ted and Nora. Kara doesn't mind that much. She gradually moved towards peaceful coexistence with her daughters. They often spent their days off with her. Ted and Nora returned to the main house. Nora gave up her apartment. Essentially, she took on the role of mother to the girls. The situation became more and more comfortable. One night, Nora and Ted, having completed another pleasant session of sex, snuggled up to each other. "Nora, do you want to get married?" Nora tensed. She looked at him. "Yes." They kissed. Nora said, "I want children, too." She looked at Ted with some trepidation. He hugged Nora. Re-dipping into diaper changing?" "Okay." They kissed again. They got married 6 months later. 2 months later, Nora became pregnant. Meanwhile, the police investigation into the sensational murder of a millionaire has reached a dead end. Gradually, the crime disappeared from public view. From time to time, some journalists raised this topic, and it faded again. Authorities spent a lot of time checking the alibis of everyone they thought had a motive, including the 6 husbands. They got nowhere. Some had no alibis, or weak ones. But the police did not have the results of an examination of the prints on the rifle, and indeed, no concrete evidence. And there were no witnesses, despite numerous public appeals to people who may have been on a side trail near the shooting site. The police checked Miranda. She was with 2 young men several miles from the shooting scene. They checked to see if she had ordered the hit. Even though the shooting did not appear to be professionally executed, nothing was found, perhaps because there was nothing to look for. Their attention to Ted quickly faded. Miles had a very convincing alibi. Traveling salesman. In the end, the matter went into dormant mode, slightly reminding itself from time to time. Soon, Kara became absolutely indispensable to Miranda and the company. She was smart, passionate, and knew more about operations than anyone else, with the possible exception of the late Byron. One Saturday afternoon, Miranda and Kara were getting ready to go out. Kara had a room in this house. She went upstairs to take a shower. Until now, she had never gone to the pool. Miranda had no problems with the pool. It bothered her that Kara had a problem with it. So that Saturday, Miranda found Kara drying herself with a towel after her shower. She tossed Kara a robe. "Come with me!" Kara was confused, but Miranda was the boss. She followed her. Miranda walked to the door that led outside to the pool. Kara stopped. Miranda said harshly, "I have a treat for you, but you have to go outside to get it." Kara hesitated, but then she thought, maybe it's time. She stepped inside. There were 2 sun loungers by the pool. Miranda walked past them. Kara followed her. There were 2 young men there. Both were naked. Both were beautiful and hung. One was black, the other was white, but well tanned. Kara was stunned. Miranda said, "You haven't slept since the shooting happened. This is Damon, and this is Chad. You have a choice, but you must choose one." Kara stood there, looking at the men. She got excited, opened her robe and threw it on the floor, slowly walked towards Damon, staring at him. "Hello, Damon. My name is Kara." Damon smiled. "Nice to meet you, Kara." Kara and Damon put on quite a show for Miranda and Chad, who were just watching. Miranda and Chad gave them a round of applause. And that's how Kara's fear of the pool was overcome. Kara's life has changed dramatically, but not in a bad way. She had her choice of boy toys, and she had a job that she loved. She spent Sundays with her daughters and sometimes with Ted and Nora. When Nora gave birth to little Bryce, Kara was thrilled but a little jealous. Ted and Nora were very happy, too. One day, when the women were alone, Nora asked Kara about her sex life, and Kara told her, clearly. Nora's sex with Ted was exciting that night. This has subsided a bit since the baby was born. Now Nora was back into the rhythm. From time to time, Nora and Kara would start another conversation. This was always enough. Kara thought of it as a family ministry that she was happy to do. Some compensation to Ted for her blunder. Soon baby Nikki appeared. As they say, all's well that ends well. One evening, after all, the children had gone to bed. Robin found herself walking around the backyard with Ted. She stopped at the guest house and turned to him. "Nora and I like each other, I'm pleased." Ted smiled. "You know, in your time you could have had me. But I chose Miles. Do you know why? I could never understand. You have inner anger. Maybe from your parents. You're hiding it, but it's always been there. And I still love you. Maybe so. Maybe. I rarely think about it. I think, sometimes. And yet you have created a good life for yourself and your loved ones. And for Miles and me too. But, Ted, I saw Miles handing you your phone after your bike ride. I didn't immediately realize what this meant. You took a hell of a risk, and so did Miles. One damn chance. Ted was silent for a moment, looking at Robin. "Do you think I should get some counseling?" Robin smiled. "Do not do that. It's you. So it was, and will be. And remember, Miles and I still love you.